Hi, and welcome to another drop of Tim Unscripted. This is the longer version of the appetizer that I recorded around SambaNova, specifically SambaNova Cloud, which is a purpose-built, from the bottom up, hardware-based generative artificial intelligence supporting infrastructure platform. I wanted to use that appetizer to get you interested in some of the capability that SambaNova Cloud brings to you when you're looking at evaluating large language models. So if you didn't catch the previous post in the short 1.5 to 2 minute video that I recorded prior, I wanted to point out that when I ran the standard prompt, which was very easy to understand, what is SambaNova? One of the things that really stood out to me was how quickly the prompt was processed. And that's intentional because some of the greatest cost involved in generative artificial intelligence is at the processor level. I'm going to be honest with you. I had completely forgot about SambaNova. I had read about it. I've known about it for about a year. And I was reintroduced to it thanks to Dallas AI and an AI event that they had at the University of North Texas. So getting back into SambaNova Cloud was really enticing after I had heard a speaker talk about their hardware first approach. So let's get back to the stats here because the metrics matter. In less than 5 seconds, SambaNova Cloud running DeepSeek R1, and this is a 671 billion parameter model, one of the largest large language models out there and available today. Crazy big, but crazy fast response because this is running on purposely engineered hardware to reduce the overall economics and make models more accessible to you and I. I don't want to get into all of the numbers behind it. The math matters, especially when you're looking at enterprise scale use for large language models, for generative artificial intelligence applications that have a chat function or a vision function or any one of the capabilities. So let's take a quick walk through some of the models that you've got in the playground. And this is a free playground. So they give you a certain number of tokens to play around with. It's like $5 or, the equivalent is something like, 5 million tokens. A token is about a word. So here in your selection menu, you've got access to DeepSeek R1. You've got a distilled combination of DeepSeek as well as Llamma. You've also got a Qwen model. You've got a handful of Llamma models, which is really great because all of these are open models. These are not proprietary models. These are not the OpenAI models that have been expensively trained and are expensive to access. And this whole collection kind of allows you to see what is happening with different types of models. Now, every one of these models, they're trained differently. They've got different parameter counts. In fact, one of the things that I want to point out is that whenever you see a 70B or you see an 8B or a 405B, what that indicates is that total number of parameters that this model was trained to walk through. Reasoning models are really neat because they give you a sense of understanding of how the model is going through its learning process or its output process. And I'm fascinated because seeing that happen is just it's a novelty. And I'm sure it's going to get old over the course of time, but for right now, seeing it step through is really instructive because you can see how it's balancing certain access points to the information that it has available so that it can synthesize this response for us as users. So text here, audio here, image here. So image generating models, cool, viral images. You can do this here on these types of models. I like the reasoning models because, of course, the seeing how these things go through this response is just, super fun for me. This platform that's available for us to experiment with. I am hoping that as this becomes more and more part of our daily lives, as we use these more to offload some of the drudge work, that people will jump in with both feet. I'm endeavoring to make this more accessible to all of us, to remove some of the fear and the concern around using these models, testing them, experimenting with them, and really seeing what kind of creative output we can start with. I approach it from the standpoint of I'm a creator first. So I want to give a model some specific direction to give me an output so that I'm not staring at a blank page, so that I'm not looking at a screen and going, oh, okay, where's my first line come from? So let's do this. We'll run some of these other standard prompts while I drone on. I know we're at 6 minutes already in time. This little prompt about strawberries is one of the challenges that most models struggle with. And so in this case, let's go to a different model to see how quickly it will respond. So let's keep our eye on the screen here. It's going through this reasoning process, which is really, whoa, look at that. Oh, hold on. It ran for a total of 5 seconds. 5 seconds. And by the way, I think it actually got the strawberry. Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it did it. So many of these models, you can run this test on your own. They don't know the actual R count in the strawberries. So let's go down here to Qwen, which is the 32 billion parameter model. Let's see how smart Qwen is. Okay, there we go. Ooh, look at that. Ooh, first, second, third. And that was, wow, less than 3 seconds. Crazy fast. And let's go back up to our friend, the heavyweight of DeepSeek R1 at 671 billion parameters, and it's going through its reasoning process. Bang! And look at that. Also less than 5 seconds right here. Less than 5 seconds. Crazy, crazy fast. So I want to encourage you, create an account for yourself, run a few tests, run some of these standard prompts, run prompts that you have been considering. I wonder what this output might look like. Take advantage of this. This is free open architecture. I say free because it's a tantalizing appetizer for you to get onto a subscription, but it's a cool entry point to gain access to a lot of capability to play around with. So APIs, this is like real deep dive tech. I use a little bit of this personally. Agents. So let's hit agents. Agents are a piece of the technology package that is becoming more and more important when we're talking about focusing models on very specific problems to solve, very specific tasks for us to achieve a desired outcome. So you may have heard me say this in the past. Agents act as guardrails to keep the model going in the right direction, because this has so much human knowledge. In any one of these models trained into it, it can get squirrely. This is where we get this whole concept of hallucinations. It starts making stuff up, whatever model it is, when it doesn't actually know the answer. So agents help to create expertise and help that model to focus on the processing of the prompt to give us a desired output, which is really nice. And you can build, as you can see, you can build your own agents on SambaNova's platform. We've got AI starter kits. So I'm walking you through all of this just to show you a little bit of the functionality that's already embedded on the cloud platform. Again, this is online. This is in real time. Exercise caution. I am not advocating that you run your company's proprietary prompts through it. I prefer to do all of my close hold work, things that I want an answer and it's generally sensitive in nature offline. I run a lot of offline models. You've probably seen some of my posts on YouTube and LinkedIn of where I've demonstrated. Use wisdom, use good judgment. Don't put company information into an online platform like SambaNova. That's the standard disclaimer I want to give everybody, so that we're clear on this. And then, of course, your plans. So you've got all of your pricing and your billing and your usage and, community documentation and the ability to contact SambaNova. So this is as far as I want to go with this. I just wanted to take and, pull the curtain back from inside the platform, show you something different. Again, this is a hardware-based approach. So this is lowering the overall economic cost to using large language models. Of course, SambaNova's got a lot of detail on their website that you can dig into for your personal use in addition to your professional use. I always encourage, do your own research, do your own experimentation, figure out what's interesting to you when it comes to the space of generative artificial intelligence. It's fascinating to me. I mean, we're ultimately trying to replicate a human-like interaction using machines. And these are great collaborators, again, when you're looking at this blank page, to give you a starting point so that you can come up with a creative outcome, or even better, offload the drudge work. Looking at spreadsheets and doing, analysis over thousands of lines of entries and comparing the spreadsheets. And, machines are much better at all of this stuff than we are. So don't struggle in a space that you don't have to, now that we have the tooling available to make life a bit easier. So you've heard me rant, you've heard me rave over 10 minutes. You've seen kind of a quick drive through of SambaNova Cloud. Again, platform with a bunch of models available in it. Love the how they put Playground out here just to get you involved and engaged. Test it out for yourself. Put your feelings, your insights, your reflections in the comments below once you've gotten online. I've used a Google account for most of my access on these models and platforms. It's just really helpful. Do the thing, be bold, be brave, get in there. Get your hands dirty, metaphorically, and see what you discover on your own. So thank you for joining me on this over 10-minute extended version of Tim Unscripted, specifically focused on SambaNova Cloud. See ya next time.